And why don't you introduce yourself to the camera real quick first?
Oh, I'm Dan Rossiter. This is Sharon. We're here at Doubledale Farm, Jefferson County, New York.
So Dan, can you tell us a little bit about the history of the farm and the evolution and kind of how you ended up making the decision to go to robotics? That's a lot to get in one sentence, but I think everybody likes to know the history and the background a little bit, how you started and kind of the path to getting here.
Well, we born and raised in Connecticut, and we moved up here probably 35 years ago in partnership with Sharon's family and home farm in Connecticut. And for a while we milked cows a mile down the road, and then bought this place. For a few years we milked cows there and here. And then we added a barn here, put all the milk cows here, and heifers over there. But the facilities, some of the barns and the milk parlor, getting some age on, getting worn.
We're getting tired.
Yeah, getting a little tired. And so we kind of wanted to do something. And this was a decision. We did a little touring, mostly in Indiana, and the people there that milked with robots and with other systems all seemed to say that they thought the robots were the future. So we kind of wanted to give it a try. And, one thing that enters into it is the farm. When you think of replacing a parlor or something, it's kind of a nightmare to think about. Get the cows milked, or get barns built, and they're full of cows and all that. And this was kind of the easiest way to do that. You could build up a new barn, half the cows here, milk them here, and then now we have the freedom to kind of do what we want over there. Knock out the whole barn, put up a parlor, or we can add on to the other barn here, put some robots there, run the milk into this milk house. So that's kind of where we're at.
So Dan, from the time that you really kind of made the decision to go and build a new facility and do robotics till the time you actually moved in, how long was that period?
Well, we'd actually had it on our mind. We had kind of graded this site a couple years ago, and we put in a newer pit, and we had brought in three-phase power with something like this in mind.
Yeah, pretty near a year, right?
We had
pushing that.
Yeah.
There was some months in there where nothing happened because this is north of New York.
Right.
Not much happens from November to April, but snow.
I'm Pete LaRusso. I work at Doubledale Farm. I've worked here for 15 years full time. I'm the robot barn manager. Before that, I worked with the calves, assistant herd manager, and I did a lot of the field work.
Yeah, so Pete, we got into this project and talking about robots. Can you tell me a little bit about what you guys were thinking and why you wanted to make that change, and then maybe a little bit of, did you look at other brands and why you ended up with Lely?
We started looking at robots because we have a double 12 parallel parlor, and it was old and it was starting to get worn out, so we had to look at some options. We started looking at robots, the efficiency and the gains, and again, cow comfort was probably our biggest thing. We went and looked at several Lely barns. We did look at some Doubledale barns and out in Western New York as well. And we liked the Lely, the free flow designs that Lely had, and that was kind of probably one of the bigger reasons we went that direction.
Very good. So Pete, you're looking at the computer screen there, and there's a lot of pretty little dials on there. And can you tell us a little bit about what you do as a herd manager on a daily basis with the software, and what things do you think really matter? And the things that you look at every day?
Well, like just a quick overglance with all these little gauges here, you can get a pretty good overview of the entire barn as far as the milk production, the visits, the refusals, the failures, even our box time and our free time. And then I can also go through and look at each individual group, because we have 4 different groups, and see how they're comparing to each other.
Okay.
Especially as the numbers grow, we're still new at this, so trying to figure that all out. And then on a daily basis, I'm going to go through and I'm going to look at the health report, and then there's an udder health report as far as for mastitis, and then another report I'm constantly checking is the failed milkings to figure out who's failing and why they're failing.
So Pete, this is a nice facility you have. Can you tell me a little bit about the layout and design and what you really like about it? What you might think you might want to change if you had to do all over again?
It's a 6-row barn with outside feed alleys. We have the robot barn dead center of the barn. So those head-to-head stalls are a little bit wider. And we have a walkway so we can introduce the cows and get the chemicals to the room. That was pretty nice. And then with having the robot room in the middle of the barn, it helps in the wintertime as far as heating it, using the cows to keep the room warm. We have an insulated barn, and then there's 96 fans, all variable speed, independently controlled. We have cupola fans, so there's plenty of ventilation in this barn. We wanted cow comfort in this barn, so with the idea of 60 cows per robot, 120 per group, we have 4 groups. We have 120 stalls, a stall per cow. There's over 100 headlocks in each group, so there's cow comfort with the biggest design in this barn.
Yeah, it shows. The cows look very good and they're very comfortable.
One of the other things we just talked about with manure, we were back and forth on alley scrapers, and then after looking at some other barns, we started talking with you about the collectors. And we went with the collectors, and we're really happy with those so far. I mean, the cows are just clean. The alleyways are always so clean.
Yeah, I remember at startup, I was quite concerned about the collectors and starting them up at the same time as the robots. I thought the cows would all pile to one end, and it did not happen at all. They were very calm around the collectors, so we were quite pleased with that. On terms of labor and what it takes, you have 8 robots and give or take 400 cows in this barn, a little better than that probably.
Yep, there's 420 cows in this barn.
So how many people does it take to keep this thing running every day?
In the morning, there's 2 people fetching. We each take two groups, and it takes about an hour and a half each. And then the feeder's a separate person. And then, I mean, there's a little bit. I do the maintenance as far as cleaning the milking robots. And then I take some time to clean the collectors, a little bit of upkeep on that, groom some stalls. And then in the afternoon, fetch, the milkers come out of the parlor, because we're still running the parlor some. So then there'll be 3 to 4 of us, depending, for an evening fetch, but it takes us about an hour, if that. So it's pretty quick as far as labor in and out of here.
Yeah, that's pretty efficient for sure. Hey Pete, can you tell us a little bit about what we're seeing on the screen here and what you can see in this robot screen?
Well, right now what we're seeing, you can see that who the cow is, how many lactation days, what lactation she is, and then it shows each individual quarter how much milk it's expecting, what it's expected to give here. And then I can click here, and I can see her daily production, expected visits. It's actually taking a temperature of her milk every time. I can see the connectivity of each individual quarter, and then it has a little bit of a lactation history as far as calving date, expected dry up, reproduction. So you can have a basic overview of the cow right here on this robot. And then from here, if I have a cow with a problem, I can prolong it, or I can take off each quarter individually.
So Pete, can you tell us a little bit about what happens on a daily and weekly basis in this room?
Every day in the morning when I'm done doing my fetching, I go through each robot. I'll shut it down and go into today's actions, and I'll just rinse down the arm very thoroughly, open up the cups, rinse them all out, clean out my vents, clean the lenses, and then I'll disinfect with the chlorine dioxide foamer, and I'll put it back into operation. And then in the afternoon during the cluster wash, we rinse down the arm again and disinfect it again. And then as far as weekly maintenance, on Fridays I will go through and I will calibrate the cups, the offset of the cups, and make sure everything's as clean as can be. And today we went through with the foamer, the Lely foamers, and scrubbed the arms.
So how many hours a week do you think you tie up into just the daily maintenance, robot, keeping them running kind of stuff?
I would say it's
Or per day?
maybe an hour and a half per day as far as just cleaning and maintenance. It's pretty simple.
Yeah. And that's for 8 robots.
And that's for 8 robots,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's pretty good, yeah. And obviously the place looks beautiful, so you guys are doing it all the time.
Yeah.
Excellent, very good. Okay, Pete, can you tell me a little bit about what's going on in here?
Here we have the weigh jar. With cow milk, it's going to fill up in here and it holds that milk until she's done milking. And then it'll actually do a rinse cycle through these 2 extra hoses, rinse everything so the valves are clean before it then pumps down to the tank. As it's pumping down, it's taking a sample with the MQCC2. And
That's the Semantic Cell Count Reader?
Semantic Cell Count Reader. And there's a reagent up in here that drips down, and there's a sensor in there, and it's reading that. Check somatic cell, and it only does that once every 3 milkings unless it finds a high somatic cell, in which case it'll then start tracking per milking until it's cleared up. There's the main power panel here, and then there's the fescue valves for all the air valves.
Yep, that's the gates and
The gates and
all of that.
Yep.
Yep, and these look like they're circuit boards behind here, and that's all your communication and control of the robot. How often do you have to monkey around in here?
We have the reagent we have to fill weekly, and then just rinsing down around the valve, make sure there's no buildup. But besides that, not too much.
Okay, cool. Thanks.